everybody, I'm Mammanah. It's fall, and that means it's harvest season. This year we didn't plant anything in our garden because I've had a bum knee, so I've been recovering from that all year. But somehow we managed to get a zucchini plant anyway. Now, these aren't our zucchinis. These are zucchinis that my sister picked at a reasonable time. And so they are a reasonable size. So what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to make a yummy zucchini dish with these that we're going to eat like normal zucchini people later. But I want to show you what came out of my garden this year. This doesn't look like a zucchini. It looks like a football. It's not the only one. It has mutant friends. So the favorite thing that I like to do with zucchini is zucchini cake. It's a delicious recipe. I mean, like mouth-watering, like make your friends jealous. This is how I have hacked it up in the past. This year, I am not going to get 6 or 12 or 18 cups of zucchini by hacking it apart with my little grater. I would die. So I'm really grateful for my KitchenAid. And I'm really grateful that this year, I have gone all out for this little attachment. This is gonna grate my zucchini for me. Thankfully, I won't have to do the hard work. This, combined with this, is gonna shred my zucchini in time to actually use it before it goes bad. So, I'm gonna set this up. I'm gonna shred some zucchini. And yeah, I'm gonna probably make 18 cups, which is gonna give me a quadruple batch of zucchini cake. Anybody who wants a taste, well, probably gonna have to make your own. This is how big I need to cut my zucchini because it's gotta fit in there. There we go. Now we gotta hack up some zucchini. All right. First that's gotta go. Bye. And this end's gotta go. Not a whole lot. I mean, we're gonna use up this squash. That's the idea, right? It's gonna be highly nutritious, very dense cake. We're not gonna take off the skin. We're gonna use that too. However, we are gonna hack this into manageable pieces because great honk. That's a lot of squish right there. Now, the one thing we do wanna do is clean out the seeds. They don't chew very well when you're in the middle of a piece of cake. So, I'm gonna grab this spoon because it's got a nice sharp edge and a receptacle for the seeds. This is a big enough squish. You can clean it out kind of like a pumpkin. When your zucchinis are smaller, you don't even necessarily have to clean the seeds out like this. But again, these are mutant zucchinis. Voila. These are monstrous, but they're pretty soft, so don't worry about how big your knife is or how sharp it is. I mean, as far as like a monstrous piece of vegetable, a pumpkin is a lot harder to hack apart than these guys. So, here we go. Again, this is what I'm trying to fit it into. So, about like that. And if it doesn't fit, obviously, we can hack it down a little further, but that looks like it's gonna work. This is the tool. I'm gonna use a nice, my finest grater. It just goes in there, twist a little bit till it locks down. Really easy thing to use. This goes on top. This is a little pushy McGick, so I don't have to get my fingers anywhere close. And we're gonna shred the heck out of some zucchini. So juicy. This is why your cake turns out moist and delicious, because this is so very juicy. Well, folks, we have a problem. That zucchini gave me 15 cups of shredded zucchini. That is 5 times what I need to make a single batch. 5 times. I don't think I have bowls big enough to create a 5 times batch of zucchini cake all at once. Not quite sure how I'm going to handle this. Like I said, everyone I know is going to be getting some zucchini cake. For every cup of shredded zucchini, I need a cup of white flour, a cup of whole wheat flour, and a cup of oat flour, because that's how I like it, because it makes it delicious. Just so you know, 1 cup of grain translates to about a cup of flour. I'm using steel cut oats and hard white wheat. We're going to start with the oats. If you're going to grind oats, you got to grind them with your wheat. The oats are too light to go through the grinder, so the wheat's got to be heavy on top of them. So you got to go a little bit of wheat, little bit of oat, little bit of wheat, little bit of oat. Here we go. I got a workout. Topped off at about 158 with my heart rate. Looks like my average heart rate was 129 beats per minute. So now I don't have to go to the gym. I got 9 cups of zucchini here, and I've got 6 cups elsewhere. I'm going to make a double batch later tonight because I really do have to get this done. So we're going to make a wet bowl and a dry bowl, and we're going to start this wet mixture with the zucchini. Now, my recipe, the one that I started with originally, called for 3 cups of oil. That's 3 cups of oil to 3 cups of zucchini and 3 cups of flour. I almost gagged when I read it. What I do is I take 1 cup of oil, because you got to have some oil. It's got to be, it's one of the binding agents, and it makes it nice and moist. So instead of 3 cups of oil, I'm using 1 cup of oil, and I'm using avocado because it's a nice flavor. And then I've substituted a couple of cups of applesauce instead of oil because egads, that's just too much oil in my opinion. The applesauce adds the moisture, so it keeps it nice and moist. I mean, the zucchini does that too. But the applesauce makes it kind of bouncy, less dense, and a whole lot less greasy. We're gonna mix this together. If you don't like applesauce, and I have had a couple people tell me that they wouldn't eat this because they don't like applesauce and they can taste it in everything, you can use canned pears. Pour off the liquid and then blend up your pears. Or you can use bananas, and then you can have banana zucchini bread. But you can substitute applesauce for oil in anything if you go about half and half. So if a recipe calls for 2 cups of oil, go 1 cup of oil and 1 cup of applesauce, just to cut the amount of fat in your recipe. Some of the fat is necessary just for consistency. When you do this, you're going to have to add bake time, almost double, and then use a toothpick, the toothpick method, when you pull it out of the oven, to make sure that it's actually done through, because it adds so much density and moisture. About the only way to tell if it's actually finished. All right, now for the sugar. We need 3 cups of sugar per batch. We're going to be brave in the kitchen. There's 1. And the sugar goes in the wet bits because it's going to dissolve. And actually, the longer we let it sit in with the zucchini and the oils, it's going to start to bubble and actually break down the zucchini a little bit too. The same way it does when you add sugar to like strawberries. It just kind of helps break everything down. We do want to use real sugar though instead of a real sugar substitute, because sugar is going to help make this delicious, delightful crust on this cake once it's done. And we're going to make a yummy frosting for it too. Very delightful cream cheese frosting. But I got to tell you, there is something about the way that the sugar kind of bubbles to the top of this and gets a crunchy crust. It's one of the best things about this cake. I like to just kind of sprinkle a little bit of powdered sugar on the top and call it delicious. Oh man, so good. Close enough. A little bit more actually, but it doesn't matter if we're short on sugar. We're going to mix this in so that it can start to soften a little. Okay. Yummy. Doesn't that look delicious? Kind of looks like snot actually, but we don't have to talk about that. I mean, we're making a cake out of vegetables. Don't tell your kids. Get it in there, get it soaking. And then the other thing we're going to do with this particular bowl is we're going to add the eggs. All right, so if you're vegan and you want to make this recipe, use xantham gum. I think it's about a 1/4 teaspoon to a 1/4 cup of water per egg. So you're going to use a teaspoon of xanthan gum and a cup of water for 4 eggs. And we're going to use 4 eggs per batch. And that'll do your binding for you. And then you don't have to do any witchcraft. See what I did there? Sorry. Anyway, so it's 4 eggs per batch. So we're using a full dozen. I told you everyone I know is getting some of this cake. And I'm only doing part of that zucchini. Monster zucchini. I mean, these zucchini are the kind that they make B-rate movies out of. You know, the kind that take over the planet. Mutant zucchinis. All right, after more than an hour of grinding wheat, my arms are tired. But that sugar's already really well blended, so we're doing the right thing here. Now we got to get our dry goods sifted together so we can just fold them into this mixture. Okay, a single batch requires 1 teaspoon of vanilla. 1 teaspoon times 3 is 1 tablespoon. So we're going for 1 tablespoon for a triple batch. There's my vanilla. Each batch calls for 3 cups of flour. So I'm using 1 cup of white flour, 1 cup of wheat flour, and 1 cup of oat flour. This mixture that I just ground is approximately, I'm going to say each cup of this is going to be mostly wheat. And then because this is partly oat flour too, I'm going to use an extra cup of this for the oats. And then I'm going to use some of my rolled oats as well. Here's my white flour. 1, 2, 3. Ha-ha. And we need 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. 1½ teaspoons. Yeah, I do some of my shopping at Costco. So, I've got my salt, my baking soda, my baking powder. I need cinnamon. And I need quite a bit. We need 2½ teaspoons of cinnamon per batch. So, you know, if you don't like cinnamon, but you do like pumpkin pie spice, use pumpkin pie spice. If you don't like cinnamon, but you like nutmeg, try nutmeg. Baking soda and baking powder are our leavening agents. Leavening agents are what make our cakes fluffy. The nifty thing about baking soda and baking powder both is that they're activated when they get wet. So once we mix these two things together, we have limited time to get them prepared and in the oven. So the next step, before these two things go bloop, we need to turn the oven on and prepare our pans. Pans need to be greased and floured for easy release, and the oven needs time to preheat. So that's next. Oven's gonna go to 325. And remember what I told you about cooking it longer when you add applesauce instead of oil? We're gonna make some big sheets of cake. And so we're probably gonna have to cook this for an hour. I have these handy dandy lasagna trays because I can give them away and I don't need to get my dishes back. So I'm gonna grease and flour some of these, and I'm also gonna do a couple of springform pans because I do trust some of the people who are getting some of my cake to bring my dishes back. Definitely in frame, so don't even worry about not being in frame. Hi, this is Max.
Hi.
He's my roommate and famous lead singer, lead guitar, and songwriter for Head Portals. Look them up. They're awesome.
So
Famous. Do you see this? Do you see how much I have here? Do you see how much room I have here? What do you think? Do you think I can get all of that in there? I think I can, just barely. I don't know if I'm gonna have mixed room. I'm a little bit scared, but this is my biggest bowl. I don't know what to do. Oh, oven's ready. Better figure it out quick. Yep, I'm definitely wearing roughly enough of this to make another cake, so that's fun. Good rule of thumb, when you're baking anything, fill your reservoir 2/3 full. I kind of feel like if we do that, these cakes won't ever bake. I'm going for about halfway. So close. Center back. Here we go. That's a nice heavy-duty aluminum pan. I'm actually really surprised. I guess if it's meant to take lasagna, I can take my little old cake and we're gonna start with about 45 minutes. I'm gonna check them. I have a feeling they're not going to be done in 45 minutes though. So I guess we'll see. Check back with me. I think we have cake. Let's check it. All right. Looks like it's pulling away from the edges. That's a pretty good indicator. The next thing we're going to do is put in a toothpick. Ooh, that's nice and clean. I wiggle it a little bit. It's jiggly, but not really jiggly. I think this is done. Okay, so, oh my goodness, I wish you guys could smell this. It smells so good. I couldn't face the idea of making more cake today, so I'm actually just going to leave my oven on because I've got some marinara simmering and I've got some noodles boiling. They're probably done. I'm going to take the rest of this shredded zucchini and I'm going to turn it into a baked pasta dish. had a chance to wash all that extra batter off of me while the cake was baking. I did end up cooking it for an hour and a half total. So that's what the extra applesauce does for you. It really increases the bake time. When you do it with oil, you're gonna have about a 45-minute bake time for that size cake. And when I say that size cake, what I'm talking about is a really big lasagna pan. That's a big cake. Remember, we did a triple batch. I'm gonna make a double batch of frosting. What I'm gonna do is, I've got 2 regular size boxes, I guess, of cream cheese here. These are room temperature. They've been sitting out for a minute. They just need to be basically nice and soft. We're going to use 2 sticks of butter. Now I've got this big old chunky block because this is Irish butter, grass-fed beef. And so the equivalent of 2 sticks is going to be half of this. So there's that. Now, because it needs a little bit of flavor, some people would say use some vanilla. We've already got vanilla in the cake. I like a little bit of kick. So if you like lime or lemon, I'm going to put a couple of limes in here. I really like my cream cheese frosting to have a little bit of citrus in it. So limes work, lemons work. If orange is your jam, use that instead. I'm just getting a fork in here to really get the juices out. And that's going to go down my disposal to freshen it. Coffee grounds and citrus peels work really well to freshen your disposal. Kitchen tips from Mammanah. So, if you've used salted butter, you don't need to put any salt in this recipe. If you've used unsalted butter, go ahead and put in a pinch of salt. And then I've got 8 cups of sugar, powdered sugar. Now that my hands aren't limey, I'm gonna cream these ingredients together. And then we're gonna start blending in the powdered sugar. Okay, it's kind of a beautiful whipped cream consistency now. That's because, like I said, it's room temperature. If I had not let it sit out for a minute, if it were hard and cold, it wouldn't have gone so easily. We're gonna start by adding just some of our sugar, not all at once. It's not gonna go easily if we try to add it all at once. All right, we're really gonna let it beat, get a nice smooth consistency. We're gonna taste it. Yep. Just a hint of lime. Delightful. Oh yeah, it's beautiful. This is so pretty. If you have kids, let them lick it off. I mean, really delicious. Look at that. So pretty. All right. You can pipe it onto your cake. You can spread it onto your cake. You can put it in the fridge and let people choose whether they're going to eat their cake with frosting or not. Do it piece by piece. Honestly, this cake is so yummy without the frosting. I like to serve it on a piece by piece basis. So if you're going to leave it on the counter under a cake dome, maybe put the frosting in the fridge. If you are going to put the whole thing in the fridge, frost it. It's up to you. So I got those 2 huge lasagna size cakes and a couple of rounds in my springform pans. So we're just going to do this one really quick because this one will fit in my fridge and under a cake dome. Alright guys, zucchini cake. Give it a try.